go. What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday, and welcome to another edition. I'm back to Mondays, y'all. Back to Mental Health Matters with Marty on Monday. Hope everyone is doing well. What is going on out there? Coming to you live from Southern California, y'all. The sun is still shining out here. We actually had a beautiful day. And listen, let me know you are out there and let me know you are watching. Hope everyone is doing well. You're keeping your head above water. We're still wearing our masks. And can I say this? Please, vote, 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 vote. Listen, it's so important during this time that we are exercising our rights and privileges of voting, because so many gave their lives for us to have the right to vote. So yes, I did do my vote, and I definitely will be sharing my sticker, because I have done my voting out here in California. I did my mail-in ballot. So excited about that. But listen, let me know you're out there. What's happening, good people? Hope you're there. What is going on? Listen, reach out to me and touch me and let me know you're out there, you're listening. Let me know how you're doing. Let's do a wellness check first. How are you doing and where are you at mentally as it pertains to your mental health? I am hoping, and part of me coming back, y'all, can you believe I've been doing this for almost 5 years, coming here and doing this thing called Mental Health Matters with Marty. And hey, Thomas, yes. A voteless people is a hopeless people. That's right, Thomas. Hey, man, glad to see you out watching me from the DMV. And y'all can say posted. Thomas is my co-host for our Tuesday show with COVID. That is more than just a pandemic. Join us. We are so excited about tomorrow. We have so many great things happening with us on tomorrow on that show. And Thomas is also going to be kicking off his own show starting Sunday, November 8th. And we are so glad and excited about that and seeing our people going, listen, we want to create as many platforms for you to get all the necessary help that you need, because our mental wellness is so important. Y'all, you know that we spend the least amount of money on the thing that can affect us the most. We spend the least amount of money, time, effort on our mental health, knowing that our mental health affects our physical health, it affects our emotional health, it affects our health on our jobs, it affects our relationship, it impacts so many areas of our lives. Yet we spend the least amount of time, effort, money, and dollars on it. So listen, just definitely want to make sure that you are knowing what your mental health is all about and everything. Hey, my executive producer. Hey, Mr. Darryl, so glad that you jumped on. Listen, I think he feels sorry for me and jumps on because he knows that I'm trying to drive this ship all by myself, and I'm not good at that. He's spoiled me. When you got great people and great team working behind you, is always good. Listen, we want you, let me know you are out there. How's everything going? Paula, how are you doing, darling? You are absolutely amazing. So good to see you out there, Paula. We appreciate you, and definitely that is so true. When we're talking about how we are affected by our mental health, we have to make sure that we are spending the appropriate amount of time doing our mental health and everything as well. So hold on, I'm getting some messages here. With that, brother can't find his glasses. You know, we get older and can't see. Okay, thank you. Perfect. Is that better? Doing a little bit better there. I tend to overfocus it. So trying to make sure we're getting this right and everything. Excellent. Thank you so much, Darryl. Cynthia Davis, hey, how are you? Hope everyone is doing all right. Listen, again, let me know how you're doing. We want to do a mental wellness check on you. How are you doing? We're in the midst of what am I trying to say, y'all? We're in the midst of voting. We're in the midst of this pandemic. We are in the midst of racial climate and racial tension and emotional tension. We're in the midst of trying to keep our sanity and maintaining our households, kids going to school, kids not going to school. How are you doing today? That's the question for today. How are you doing? And we want to make sure that you are doing all right. I'm taking it day by day. If I can be truly honest and transparent with you, I thank God for my brothers that keep me in line, who make sure that I'm doing well. So shout out to all those people that check on me on a daily basis to make sure I'm doing well mentally, physically, and emotionally with that as well. Thank you. Paula is saying, my mind feels like it's going to explode. I hear you on that, Paula. Too often our minds do feel that way, and we want to make sure that we are keeping the balance. So thank you for sharing that, Paula. If you're doing, and then Cynthia Davis says, "No worries, God is in control." Yes, standing firm on that. I know that's right. We have to stand firm on the Word of God, and I love it because it talks about even with. I'm reminded of that old hymn. My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and His righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest frame, but wholly lean on Jesus' name. On Christ, the solid rock I stand. All other ground is sinking sand. So thank you for reminding me of that. And we want to just encourage you. This is definitely about mental health, but I cannot help but bring my faith in it as well, because my faith helps me in that. And y'all, it is all right to see your therapist and counselor and go to church. Why? Because the Bible even talks about seeking wise counsel in that. So I appreciate that. Great. I love it. Come on, Bishop. Yes. Can we put up Byron's comment there, Byron Matthews, please? What we have there. Yes. With that, there we go. It says, I am stressed and drained majority of the time. I'm trying to take it one day at a time. I know God will continue to give me strength. Brian, I'm so sorry, Brian, that is so true. You gotta make sure and in that you are keeping your strength, taking it one day at a time. And it's okay that you are not okay at times. And knowing when you need to pull back, knowing when you need to take some time to balance yourself out. Take some time for self-care. Self-care is so important. When our anxiety levels and our stress levels and our depression might be higher, we need to then take more time to make sure we have balance. Go back to doing those things that brought you pleasure. Go back to taking long showers, taking a hot bath. Go back to eating the right foods. Go back to exercising. Go back to meditating with that as well. So I'm so excited also here, if you're in the Southern California area, in Rancho Cucamonga, I am going to be starting anxiety classes that are going to be in the Salt Oasis here in Rancho Cucamonga, that we're going to be hosting those, because we need to get back to getting balance in this. So these are meditation classes in a salt oasis and salt caves. Oh my, if you have never done a salt cave, find out where your local salt caves are at. And it is absolutely amazing. So we're going to be doing that. I'm going to get one in next week. I'll keep you posted on the date and time with that as well. So we are so excited. Going to take a couple more comments and we're going to jump right in there. Debbie, yes, Marty, I agree about the facts that we are that we all tend to put off our mental health, especially after being a victim of domestic violence. Right. It took me many years to get it all back together after being a victim. I am so proud to say that I am a survivor. I am stronger than before. Miss Deb, oh my God, shout out to Debbie Popma, who's doing amazing work so many years. And thank you for being so transparent and sharing that. You're right, especially as victims and people who have suffered domestic violence. Have to make sure that you remain balanced, that you get the support that you need, and that you take care of yourself, and remind yourself that you were not the problem and you are not the problem. Domestic violence is a point of control when someone else is trying to control you for whether it's emotionally, whether it's financially, whether it's physically, in any of those leads, I like to say, when they are trying to manipulate, control, and take advantage of you by making you feel less, by totally taking control. That is a form of domestic violence. It can be verbal. In so many instances, we are in people are living through verbal times when they're being verbally assaulted, verbally abused, anything that is not, we won't even talk about, then sexually abused, any of those things. That is a form of domestic violence all in itself. And then Jason Jones talked about a lot of pressure. Let's put up his, yes, lots of pressure, but my hope is not in man. Looking for opportunities in looking for opportunities in the seemingly always negative environment. That is good. Love that, Jason, where you're looking for the salt cave sound fun. Man, I would love for you and your wife to come and join. It is great. We're going to have a good time with that. And what we're going to do is grounding. I'm going to teach you meditation concepts, how to ground yourself, breathing techniques. And these salt caves are amazing. I'm so into this Himalayan salt, y'all, because one, if you have anxiety, it helps with dealing with anxiety. It deals with your respiratory issues. It also helps for those who have fibromyalgia, any type of those type of pains and so forth, migraine headaches, that you're breathing 100% pure Himalayan salt. So from floor to ceiling on all four walls is nothing but salt bricks, and then 4 inches of salt we will be sitting in. So definitely bring your comfortable clothes. We will have mats and everything for you. It is going to be absolutely amazing. I go to the salt caves at least once a week and sit in a oxygen chair once a week as well. And y'all, it has made such a huge difference in how I think, what I believe. It's cleared up all my lungs and everything. As I am a COVID survivor, I needed that to help get through that as well. So I am so excited to be dealing with that. But today, Paula says, I grew up in that type of household, and and it still affects me as an adult unexpectedly. You're absolutely right, Paula, and I can agree with you. I grew up in a domestic violent household as well, and for 16 years that is what I grew up to know. And so I had to fight being passive aggressive because I learned how to be the peacemaker in so many areas of my life. So I didn't want to make anyone upset, so I learned how to tiptoe around things, and it became very dangerous because I did not learn how to fully express my own emotions and what I was feeling. So you're right, because it can, if it goes untreated, it does affect us in our adulthood. And I have some amazing statistics I'm going to share with you a little later. So Paula, thank you for sharing that. Deb, thank you for sharing that as well. And those of you who have been witnesses or have been victims, please, if you're not embarrassed and would love to share, because I believe one of the first steps to healing is admitting that there was a problem, and not that you're trying to get pity, but it gives you strength to stand on your own and said, I am enough, and I'm not taking this any longer. I'm going to stand and say, I was a victim. I got through it. I'm still working through it. And I'm not going to allow that to happen to me any longer. So that's absolutely, thank you so much. And Angela says, not sure. Can you put that way? She says, not sure if I have the salt caves here in Southern California. Well, what they have, Angela, is this. They have, so when I say salt cave, it's more like a salt room, where here in Rancho Cucamonga, there's actually a company that has renovated and put up a salt bricks throughout a room and have that. So it is in the city, if you will. So look for something like, whether salt oasis or anything. So these aren't natural. They import the Himalayan salts into these, and they recreate these salt caves in buildings and so forth. So it is absolutely amazing. If you have the opportunity, it is so freeing and so relaxing. I was embarrassed because I fell asleep in the salt cave, and I felt so bad. I had to apologize to all the people because I probably snored and woke them up, because it woke me up as well. But listen, we have to attend to our own personal health and self-care with that as well. So let's jump right into the topic today. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we want to definitely be aware of that. And we want to bring light to that, because so many people, let me share with you some of these brief statistics that I did find as it pertains to domestic violence, because I definitely think working Rancho, Angela, it's right there on Foothill and Rochester, right across from the spaghetti factory. Why do I talk in terms of food landmarks? And right where that 76 gas station is on the corner there, it's in that same one right there. So it's called Salt Oasis, and they are amazing. Let them know that I sent you if you do go over there, so that you can get a discount with that as well, because we're setting up a corporate account for those who are a part of the Marcel Consulting and Mental Health services, or if I refer you, we're working on getting discounts for it as well, because it is so vital to your mental health. So let's look at some of these statistics that we have found when it comes to domestic violence. Nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. And then I found out this other statistic as well that says every 9 seconds in the United States, a woman is assaulted or beaten. Every 9 seconds in the United States, a woman is assaulted or beaten. And those were pre-pandemic numbers, because we already know that with this pandemic, and we have been closed up and on I don't want to say lockdown, but definitely we have been encouraged to stay at home so that we can deal with this pandemic. That is causing more people to be at home. And for more families, we have not yet seen the number of domestic violence cases. And doing the study even here locally, the numbers have definitely increased since the stay-at-home orders due to the pandemic. We have not even talked about the child abuse that happens as a result of it as well. So we have to look at all of these things, what is going to pan out from that, and how do we get help with that as well. So every night, domestic violence, this fact got me, is most likely to take place between the time frame of 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. Let me say that again. Domestic violence is most likely to take place between the time frame of 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. And I'm going to encourage you, listen, if you're in a DV relationship, if you've experienced DV, get you a safety plan together. Let me say that again. Get you a safety plan together. There's a commercial that I absolutely love that simply says this, where the woman is calling 911, but she says, I'm calling to order a pizza. What are your specials today? And the woman goes, hey, do you realize you're calling 911? Yes, I want to order a pizza. What are your specials today? Whatever you have to do in order to get some help, we're going to encourage you to do that. Now, let's get some more of these statistics, because they're so alarming when it comes to domestic violence in that. As many as 85% of domestic violence victims are women. Yes, 85% of domestic violence victims are women. And we cannot ignore also when we're talking about men who are victims of domestic violence. Now, not just man on man in same-sex relationships, or woman upon woman in same-sex relationships, but we're also talking about there are women who also beat men as well. And that is also classified in the domestic violence. And with that, I'm going to hold my theory on that a little bit later. One-fourth of women worldwide will experience domestic date violence in their lifetime. Women between the ages of 20 and 24 are of the greatest risk of becoming victims of domestic violence. We have to have conversations with our young daughters. We have to have conversations with our nieces, our cousins, our children, and we have to have these conversations at home. We have to have these conversations at church. We have to have these conversations at school. We can no longer remain silent as it pertains to the protecting our young women. And I'm going to say it this way too: protecting our young men, protecting our children, our adolescents, and our young adults, because they are the ones who are experiencing it in its highest proportions of that. Let me say, half of all homeless women and children in the United States are fleeing from domestic violence. Wow. And we say that we have a homeless problem. Yes, there is a homeless challenge in our country. But let's look at this. Of those homeless, half of them, thank you so much, Veronica, half of them are fleeing from domestic relationships and domestic violence relationships and trying to do the best they can for their children. So with that, we have to be mindful of that as well in that. Station. No, the gas station is not close to the chicken place. In that place, so in that, so we have to look at boys who witness domestic violence are 2 times as likely to abuse their own partners and their children when they become adults. That's why we have to have conversations about what healthy relationships look like. We have to do that. Let's look at Jason's comment right there. So please, y'all, please comment along the way. This is good. This is good. Men don't report, but it happens. Yes, men usually are too embarrassed. Jason, you are absolutely right about that. Men are too embarrassed because we go with the stereotypes that men have been given by our country, by our culture. Because in if we look at men of African American descent, of Hispanic descent, Italian or what have you, we are supposed to be the strength. We're supposed to be man up, suck it up. We are not. You're being a punk if you let someone else beat you, let alone a woman. So you're right. We are embarrassed, and so domestic violence as it pertains to men often go underreported, such as even men who are raped go underreported because of the stigma and the embarrassment that comes along with that. Men, we can no longer, and women, listen, people, we can no longer suffer in silence. I say this all the time, but we have to stop the stinking thinking, and we have to speak up. We have to speak out, and we have to live. We can no longer suffer in the shadow of shame and embarrassment. No, time out is for that, because your life, I'm going to say this, look at me when I'm saying this, you matter. You are enough. You are important. You matter, and your life depends upon stating this, and it depends upon reporting it. Get you some help. Go get you a safety plan. Get you some grits if you have to, like Al Green. With that, do whatever you have to do. You are fighting for your very life, and you are worth it. Listen. We have to also, I'm going to tread through some tough waters right now. We have to, as the body of Christ, as the church, we have to also be willing to help those who are in domestic violence situation. I say that because growing up in a small mid-hick town city in the Midwest, people, it was almost like it was acceptable that women were beaten, and that they knew, well, they were a good provider. Well, we don't care about being a good provider. Yay, thank God they're a good provider. But provision means nothing if your life is at threat. Provision means nothing if you're constantly living in fear of that. Provision means nothing if you can't enjoy the provisions because you might get beaten because you enjoy it, or you might get beaten because you can't flaunt it or show it. You might get beaten if you give some of it away. It means nothing to have the world and to lose your very soul and can't be able to enjoy the very things that you are supposed to. And just because I live on the west side and have a good house does not mean that my house is a house of safety. Come on now. I know I'm talking because that's the life I lived. I'm not telling you something that I read about. I'm telling you about something that I personally experienced and my family experienced, and it caused division. We have to have these uncomfortable conversations. So today, y'all, put on your big boy pants and your big girl dresses, because we've gone through some heavy stuff today, and it's not to hurt you, but it's to help you so that you have a voice. Here at Mental Health Matters with Marty, we always want you to have a voice, to speak up and be heard, because just like voting, if you don't say something and don't cast your vote, we become speechless and voiceless. You are never voiceless on this platform here, but we want to hear your story. We want to embrace you, and we want to encourage you to the next point. So I hope that you enjoyed. Listen, like and share this, and get people who you know need to hear this. Let them hear this with this as well. Jason T. Mahoney, I need to have you on here so we can talk about it too. But maybe need to have a part 2. Go ahead, Cynthia says. However, you can only help those who want help. I have been in that situation where I tried to help a friend, but each time she returns to him, it took her years to finally say enough and leave. Cynthia, you bring out a very important part. You are absolutely right. What we do is to put in seeds of hope in those people, in those situations. Now, let's think about it. They have been, the perpetrator has been toying at the victim for so long because they get in their mind. So they get in their mind telling them, you're not anything. You'll never be anything without me. So even if you try to leave me, you won't be successful. No man is going to want you after I'm done with you. No woman is going to want you. So they leave and come back because they then begin to believe the lies themselves, because they don't love themselves enough to say, you know what? I might love you, but I love myself more. I love my life more than that. I know even in our marital vows, it says for better or worse. But listen, baby, for worse right now, we're going to separate and we're going to get some serious counseling in this. And if you are able to do that turnaround, then we can come back to the table. But statistics show that a person in a DV relationship will leave and return from 7 to 10 times. And I hear what you're saying, Cynthia, before they will finally say enough is enough in that. And so many people are fleeing for their lives with that as well. Let's look at Debbie Popma's comment. It says, the fact that my son saw how I was being treated for 7 years gave me the strength to leave. We did the family therapy after that, and I spent a lot of my time talking with my sons about how and what they saw was not, I love that, Debbie, the way a real man treated their loved ones. Happily, both never raised a hand to their partners. Wonderful. We have to talk and discuss about fears, questions, and problems we each have coming out of that relationship. Debbie, that is beautifully stated. You're absolutely right with that. We have to have these conversations with that, so we share and get into, and I love it, get into individual therapy, get into family therapy, because we have to talk those out. It's okay that you're angry. It's okay that you're scared. It's okay that you don't know what to do. With that as well. Yes. And DV has increased. Yes. Since the stay-at-home order, victims don't have a safe place to go and are forced to stay in homes with their abusers. Yes. Isolation is a key tool with abusers. You're absolutely right. Thank you for saying isolation is so key, because if I keep you isolated and I keep you, my voice in your mind. Have you ever been to that point where you go, when you're a kid? Now remember this, when you were a child and you went to go do something, you're like, you heard your mama's voice in your head. You're like, baby, I can't do that. With the same principle happens, because now they've gotten in your mind. Now because if I can control your mind, I can control you. That's where the stinking thinking comes. We have to radically change our thought process. We have to change the neuroplasticity. We have to change the framework in which we go. We have to change directions in how we think and how we act, because I see y'all gonna get me preaching in here. As a man thinketh, so is he. So if I think that I'm nothing, I then become nothing. If I think I can't get out of this relationship, 9 chances out of 10, I don't believe I can. So that's why, listen, keep encouraging them. Cynthia, keep encouraging your friends. Listen, Deb, keep encouraging your friends. We have to still be that point of support for that, because oftentimes we are the only support system that a lot of them have. Don't come with judgment, because they're already being judged by their perpetrator. Come with understanding. Come with empathy. We may not be able, and I agree with you, Cynthia, we may not be able to help or pull them out, but we can assist them with that. We can provide the tools to help them. We can provide the hotline numbers. We can provide, if you need to get away, we can provide the lending ear. We can provide, hey girl, do you need some coffee? My brother, do you need to get some dinner? Let's go play some ball. Let's go out. Let's go shop. Let's do this, or dropping something off, sending a text, whatever that we can do to help them out in the situation. That's how we can do it, y'all. Listen, there is hope. And for so many people, their friends are their only means of hope that we have physically here on earth that they can touch. So listen, don't get weary in well-doing, but keep on being that provider. Keep on being that listening ear, even though you might say, listen, I'll come over there and shoot the jack-leg Negro myself. Don't you go to jail, but listen in that. So let's look at some more of these statistics. In this, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men will experience severe intimate partner physical violence. Wow. Wow. And domestic violence and intimate partner violence, we're using those interchangeably a little bit today, just so that we now include those who have been abused in the LGBTQ community, or if you're not married or whatever. So we're saying this intimate partner in there as well. One in three women and one in four men have experienced some form of physical violence with an intimate partner. One in seven women and one in 25 men have been injured and severely injured as a result of this intimate partner danger as well. I love this, Cynthia. I love these comments, y'all. Keep them coming in. So it says, my first husband watched his father beat his mother as a child, and often was one who and often was the one to have to take care of her afterwards. He said that he could never do that to anyone. So even with that example he did not follow it. You're exactly, and that goes back into Cynthia. We have to be very careful, because the very thing that we hate, if we're not careful, because it's undealt with a trauma in our life, because children who are witnesses of this are experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder. And so with that, they can have flashbacks. And with that, the hurt can become so deep that they black out with that as well, till they don't realize what they're doing, and they hate that person and hate that circumstance so much till the slightest thing can trigger them till they black out, and before they know it, I do believe in many cases that they are sincere about it, but they need help in order to do it. So yes, that's why, y'all, when we are dating, we need to shake these family trees. When we are and I say that all the time, when we when your children are starting to date someone, baby, shake the family tree. Find out what kind of abuse is in the family. Find out if there is any abuse in the family. Find out what the hesitations and the patterns are, because like you're saying, DV is a pattern. Because and we have to be careful that not just will young men become perpetrators in the future, but if we're not careful, young women will marry men that were just like their fathers, because they begin to normalize that negative and that violent behavior. Well, my mother put up with it and she survived, so it must be all right. So we have to be very careful with that. And I love what Leslie Westbrook says. She says, right, PTSD is very real. It is. And we cannot discount what our children are going through when it comes to that. I love what Debbie love it says. We gave them the ear and the shoulder until they worked it out. Telling them to leave just makes them dig their feet in, but be there for them, and when they are ready, they will let you know. That is so true, Deb. When they are ready, but be there. Continue to be that support. You never know what it will take, or what that conversation, or you not judging them. They need to find a safe haven, a safe place, a safe person. I know sometimes when that person calls you and you've been like, oh God, I don't want to answer that phone, but that could be that final conversation that will help them, give them the strength to say enough is enough. Maybe you're helping them with a safety plan. Maybe you're helping them say, hey baby, I will have a bag packed for you that you can just leave everything. See, when you get to that point, it's like any other type of addiction or what have you. And I'm not saying that DV is an addiction, but what I'm likening in that you have to hit rock bottom, and everyone's rock bottom is different. What might be rock bottom for you is different for someone else. Someone's pain tolerance may have a higher threshold than what you do for someone. And then we got to get past the guilt. There's so much psychology and psychological abuse that happens when we're talking about DV, people who have been in those situations, that's what we have to be very careful of, that we're supporting them and not judging them. And I love this. And even if they go back to the abuser, still be there for them. Exactly, Tricia. Even if they do go back, still be there. Because think about it. We can't get tired. How many times has someone been there for us when they should have given up on us? I don't know why I'm feeling emotional about this right now, but had it not been for that person, for me, it was this couple, and I thank God for them today, Greg and Sandra Williams. Whenever I needed just to get away, they provided a safe haven for me to get away and spend some time. Half the time, I would go to their house and just fall asleep. And I would wake up 2 or 3 hours later and they'd be like, "You all right?" I'm like, "I'm good." "Do you need anything?" "No, I'm good." Okay. And you just need to provide a safe place for that. And that was me as a teenager with that. So providing that safe space for them, you never know what that is going to do to impact and change someone else's life. They're often a trauma bond, yes, that the victim has with the abuser. You're absolutely right. Because we see that bond in AA and NA because they grew up in rough neighborhoods, or because Alana, you're 100% on the mark with that. There could be a common bond with that, but just because we shared a common bond in past trauma does not mean we have to create a new trauma. Both of you need healing, both of you in that, and separating can be very traumatic as well, because we got to deal with separation anxiety, we got to deal with attachment disorder, and all these other traumatic bonds that happen as well, and even our own PTSD is. So this is a very, very complicated situation and that we're dealing with. However, it can be managed. However, don't give up on our people. Don't give up on the situation. We have to scream it from the mountaintops. We got to continue to have these healthy conversations so that we are helping others with that, and continue with that. The physical form of the abuse usually comes after, the extensive verbal and psychological abuse that sets the fear and control. Trish, I couldn't have said that better, because it is a process. They are vetting their victims. They are vetting what they're doing so that I can then take all control. Because if I beat you down and wear you down enough so that you don't think highly about yourself, I then get into your mind. A couple more statistics I want to definitely hit before I leave today. In this, it says, this is what blew my mind. In a typical day, there are more than 20,000 phone calls a day placed to domestic violence hotlines across the nation. That is an astonishing number. Over 20,000 a day that are placed nationwide. And I'm sure if we're looking at it during this pandemic, it is even higher. So listen, be very sensitive to that, y'all. And then we have that comment by Anthony Key that says DV can be a form of addiction. Oh, that's good. That's person's drug of choice. Beat or sorry, my reading is terrible today. Beat or putting down their own half can be a release for them. Wow, you're absolutely right. Because most people, they need to make themselves the perpetrator and the one doing it has to make themselves feel better by making you feel worse. You're absolutely right. Because there's a whole nother cycle of addiction and cycle that we have to deal with when we're dealing with that. But I wanted to bring some highlight to this on today, y'all. We've actually been having an amazing conversation. I want to encourage you this coming Wednesday on our Mental Health Matters with Marty podcast. The topic is domestic violence. And I'm so glad and so excited to have Michael Adams, Dr. Michael Adams, soon to be Dr. Michael Adams, who is a DV expert and coach in Raleigh, North Carolina region. And to have a black man teaching domestic violence classes and to come with it from that perspective is absolutely amazing. I'm going to encourage you on this coming Wednesday, please listen to the Mental Health Matters with Marty, episode 14. Thank you so much. A podcast with that. And if you're an Apple listener, we definitely want you to leave a 5-star rating and a review. But with that, it is going to be so exciting to hear Dr. Michael Adams talk about the domestic violence and what he sees on a daily basis. And him being a teacher, he talks through this, how this is a calling for him and how he's been moved. And this was the very last thing he wanted to do, but he is helping so many perpetrators and victims in that, because we have to help both parties. We're not saying get back together. If that is the case, we want you to be healed and healthy in that. But it is an exciting episode that you don't want to miss, because he dropped so much knowledge that it just blew my mind, and from perspectives I had not even thought about with that. So great dialogue that he and I are having on this Wednesday on Mental Health Matters with Marty podcast. Okay, Deb has another comment. Let's read that. Deb, I love it today. A lot of people don't understand that even before all the abuse happens, the abuser separates the victim. That's it. From their support systems. Mine was 2,300 miles away, and the victim often is not sure who to trust after that. That right there is mind blowing. You're absolutely right. And Leslie Westbrook had talked about it too, how isolation is one of the key factors and one of the key elements that the victim that the perpetrator used. That's right. She talked about isolation as key tool with the abuser. The abuser uses isolation because then they can have control of you, because you need them for your emotional support. A lot of times they will even take control of your finances. They'll take control of your physical body, what you're thinking, how you eat, when you eat, where you eat, who you socialize with, to come home, where you work, all of those things. Those are clear signs and warning signs that you are in a domestic violence, or could be in a domestic violence relationship. When we're talking about domestic violence, we're talking about having financial control. They're having financial control over you, having mental control over you, having sexual control over you with that. And oftentimes we're dealing with, now dealing with rape and sexual abuse and all of that. That plays hand in hand with it as well. But listen, I want to thank you guys. Listen, there's so much more to talk about when it comes to this. And maybe next week we got to have a part 2. In fact, that's exactly what we're going to do. Next week, we're going to have a part 2 of this domestic violence, because we want to keep the conversations going. We want to make sure that everyone is understanding and that you are equipped with the proper tools that you are going to need with that. Leslie, if you're still on, I would love for you to be a part of the panel next week and bring you on, because I think you will be absolutely amazing with that. And then we're going to bring on our panelists that we had for this week. Unfortunately, emergency happened. He could not make it. But we are so excited, and thank you so much for joining us, for coming back. We're back on Mondays, y'all, where it all started 5 years ago with Mental Health Matters with Marty, talking about just this, talking about subjects and what we're doing. Again, I'm Martina Sellers, your mental health hygienist. You can check me out and follow me on my Facebook at Mental Health Matters with Marty, on YouTube, Martina Sellers, with that as well. And please check out my website at mentalhealthmarty.com. Wonderful. Leslie, excellent. Thank you, Leslie. Would love for you to be on that. So this week, yes, was just our introduction, because you're absolutely right. Thomas, thank you so much. So we're going to have a great panel with doing this next week, with definitely bringing on Leslie. If you're definitely available, would love to have you come on board. Jason, definitely going to have you come on, because you're one of these ones who does domestic violence. Definitely, I'm going to see if I can't bring out, because you would have listened to Dr. Michael Adams. I'm going to see if I can bring him on next week as well, and then also bring on Cory with that as well. Cynthia, thank you so much. Listen, we never want to take something like domestic violence lightly. And it is definitely a subject we cannot sweep under the carpet. There are so many who are being abused every week by this every day. Please reach out to your domestic violence hotlines with that. Your safety as always comes first. And if you're in a domestic violence situation, don't be ever afraid to dial 911. And start doing your homework with that. Look for your local shelters. Call 411. That will always get you the information as well. If you need anything regarding that, or 211, excuse me. 411 will always get you information. 211 from any of your phones will get you the local shelters and hotlines that are available in your local counties. We love 211, who is sponsored by United Way. That they are definitely getting information out there. We always want you to be safe, and we are concerned about your safety because you do matter. So thank you again for joining us for this special edition on dealing with domestic violence. Next week, looking forward to part 2 with that. Please like and share with us. Please forward this information to anyone that you know that could use support in a DV relationship, not just the parents or with that, but for the children as well. As always, do not suffer in silence in the shadow of shame, but we always want you to speak up, speak